Good afternoon. My name is Fredrick Douglass, and today is December 1st, 1853. I've been asked by the Abolition News Network to interview a celebrated author, a martyr of the fugitive slave laws, who had the unique experience of being a free citizen of the state of New York. He had a wife, had children, and, well, he was kidnapped in broad daylight in 1841. He was taken to Washington, D.C. and ended up on a cotton plantation in Louisiana for 12 years. And now he has published a book. And this book of his experiences is called 12 Years a Slave. Welcome to A.N.N. Solomon Northup.
Sir, it's very great to meet you. I've read so much about you and heard so much about you.
And the honor is mine. The honor is mine.
Yes.
Solomon, let's get right into your story of your kidnapping. How did this very bizarre occurrence take place?
I was walking in Saratoga Springs, New York. Naturally, I was looking for work because as a carpenter and a violinist, and at the time, there was no employment. So I was out walking, and I reached Broadway and Congress when two gentlemen by the name of Hamilton and Brown approached me. They looked very respectable. And at the time, they offered me a position with the circus to play the violin, paying $1 a day and $3 for every night. But we had to hurry to Washington, D.C. Well, it seemed very, very good to me, so I went down to Washington. But while we were dining, someone must have drugged one of my drinks, because when I woke up, all my papers were gone, my money, and I was chained up in a slave pen, purchased by a Mr. James Birch. I'll never forget that experience.
Well, Solomon, I read your book. Harriet Beecher Stowe and I were very impressed with your descriptions of real-life slavery. You know, no one has ever written a book that has had your knowledge and had your experience. Did you exaggerate anything, or did you leave anything out for fear that it would be too hard or too upsetting?
I didn't leave anything out other than, if anything, I left the harshness, the day-to-day harshness. You can't really picture how harsh slavery life is. For instance, you're up at the break of dawn, and you're working until the late evening when the sun goes down, and only after the overseer says you can quit. And all that time, you're given 15 minutes to eat, to drink some water and eat a piece of bacon.
I want to ask you one more question. What do you think make Southern slave owners become so cruel, and at the same time, they pretend to be refined Southern gentlemen?
Well, sir, you have to understand, if you don't look on the slave as a human being, it's very easy to abuse him. They see us as stupid, liars, and do not hold with any human consideration.
Volumes 1 through 10 on the Road to the Abolition of Slavery. Volumes 1 and 2. Introduction on the Road to the Abolition of Slavery. Slavery explained in the words, writing, and songs of contemporary politicians, abolitionists, slaves, pro-slavery advocates, and others. Volume 3. Politics on the Road to the Abolition of Slavery. The institution of slavery and how it was written into the U.S. Constitution. Volume 4. Heroes and Heroines on the Road to the Abolition of Slavery. Liberated from the shackles of slavery, countless slaves made extraordinary contributions to society. Volume 5. Obstacles on the Road to the Abolition of Slavery. Slavery, culturally entrenched and protected by religious, political, and social obstacles. Volume 6. Martyrs on the Road to the Abolition of Slavery. People black and white gave their lives in the fight for freedom from slavery. Volume 7. Kidnappers and Justice on the Road to the Abolition of Slavery. The law protected slavery, and the scales of justice were in favor of the slave owners. Harriet Beecher Stowe, The Evil of Slavery. Stowe reveals the people and the conditions that inspired her explosive novel about slavery and life in the South. Volume 8. The Legacy of What Slavery Left Behind. War-ravaged people struggle to rebuild their society and come to terms with the repercussion of slavery after the Civil War. Volume 9. Those Dedicated Angels on the Road to the Abolition of Slavery. Recognizing the work of 12 abolitionists whose extraordinary dedication helped to free the enslaved, these are the people who fought for a higher standard of mankind. Volume 10, coming soon, summer 2013. The Beginning of Slavery. Indentured servants and the transatlantic slave trade. Colonial plantations needed labor, more orphans, loose women, convicts, and Quakers than the Old World could send as indentured servants. So the colonists looked to Africa, and the transatlantic slave trade thrived for 450 years.